Okay, I think we are live. Can you guys see or hear me? Well, see my back, I guess, because my computer is not where my webcam is. Trying to rearrange this a bit. There we go. Yay! Oh, let me just set a couple things up really quick. I've got to rearrange stuff on my screen. Just a bit. And I think we're good. Okay, so this is the painting from today that you guys saw. I guess I could look at you guys, right? This is the painting that you guys saw today from the 10-minute challenge, and I've been redoing it, just spending a little bit more time, more than 10 minutes. And now we are on to the rocks and the waterfall. So I thought I would save that, and we could do that tonight with you guys here. Okay, so I apologize. It's kind of weird because my setup's just weird and I'm still getting the hang of where I need to position stuff for these cameras. I'm sure over time this will get better and better. So starting with these rocks, they are painted a dark purpley black, and now I need to make them look like rocks, and then I'll put grass on top of them. With the acrylic paints, well, with anything, it's just a layering process, and acrylics are so easy because they dry so fast. Okay, that can be frustrating for a lot of people, but because they dry so fast, we're going to be able to move through this very, very quickly. So the first thing I need to do is mix some brown paint. You think I would have actually done this beforehand. My brushes are all over the place from last night's painting session. We'll start with this guy and this one. And in case you wondered how I sit here kind of talking to myself going, oh, which brushes do I want? I do that when you're not here too. Totally talk to myself regularly. I cannot be the only one who does that. Okay, so I'm going to start by just mixing a dark brown. I used to buy my brown acrylic paints all the time, but one of the problems that I was having is for some reason, the brown one here, I think this one's still in good condition, maybe not. Brown with the Liquitex Basics has a tendency to come out kind of chunky and globby and like quickly within just, they aren't that old and they get yucky. I don't see that with a lot of other colors, so more often than not lately, I've just been mixing my own by using Mars Black and red oxide. You get a nice chocolate brown that way. So, okay, let's start. I don't really know what I'm doing. I don't have definite reference photos. I've just painted enough rocks and enough waterfalls that I can kind of get away with not needing the reference photo that I'm always stressing how badly you need. I'm breaking my own rules. But this is, once you get to where you've done a certain subject enough times, you don't have to copy it exactly, depending on the style you're going. If I was going photorealism, I would want to find really good reference photos. Colin asked if I'm working flat. No, I'm up on an easel. I very rarely work flat just because of my back and my neck. I did on the marker live stream last week. My neck has not been happy with me all week because of it. I've been paying for that one. So I've got to figure out how to work upright with the markers too. I just have to adjust my setup a bit. So I want to create some texture in with these rocks. I don't just want solid fading from light brown over to black. I definitely want some variation, and I want some of the black to show through. Again, my black is not just straight black though. It's black mixed with purple, so it's really just a dark, dark purple. Tamara says she can totally imagine me talking to myself when you guys aren't here. Actually, and even worse, I don't know if that's worse. Maybe it's better, maybe it's worse. I talk to my dogs and I have full conversations and reason with them and explain to them why they have to go in their crate right now. Like, I'm going to live stream. I can't have you out right now. And I'm giving them a whole like explanation like they understand me. They don't care. They got a cookie for it. They were fine. But yeah, I have full conversations with my dogs. This is what happens when you work from home and you don't really have people to talk to. I'm just kind of making up little random shapes in here. I want to have clumps of rock and not just blob o rock, if that makes sense. Yay, barking dogs outside. That's new. It's not new at all. See, maybe people need to reason with their dogs more, then they could convince them not to bark all the time. So one of the things that you should be able to see right now, as I'm adding the paint, I'm smudging the underside. I'm not just smudging paint all over the place. I'm putting it in one area. I'm leaving one side sharp, and I'm smudging downward. So I've got a sharp edge and then a soft edge. And you'll see me squinting a lot. That's a normal thing that I do when I paint because I just got paint where I don't want it. I just need to take a clean brush with some water. But I squint constantly like, okay, do I need more light, dark? It's just an easy way. It's pretty much the equivalent of stepping back from your painting to judge how your balance is. Although I guess I could look at the screen over here. That's making me see it pretty easily. Jessica asks, how do I decide my light source when doing a night scene? I just kind of make it everywhere. Here with the water, I've got kind of this glow coming from the water. I'm not following any specific light source. It's kind of from the mid up behind. There's no strong light source in this case. If I had a moon, then I would use the moon as my light source. But here, while I do have the galaxy in the background, why am I thinking that's not the word I wanted there? Milky Way? Whatever this pretty star thing is in the background, that could be a light source, but it's not strong enough that it's going to, I'm not going to really use it as a big, huge light source. I'm, if anything, going to use the water, but again, the water would go across, so my light source is kind of all over the place. So, and this one doesn't have strong lighting. It's not going to have very interesting lighting at all. So just kind of breaking up chunks. Again, I'm making up where these chunks are as I go along. It's so funny. I don't think that much about how often I squint at my painting. I do it apparently the whole time I paint, because right now I'm catching myself realizing how ridiculous I probably look as I paint when no one's in the room. I'm trying really hard not to do it too much because it looks kind of silly. Morgan asks, so if I wanted to practice drawing people, should I draw skeletons to learn about structure or stick to the normal face with skin? Say whatever you're interested in. I'm not interested in skeletons, so I didn't start with skeletons. It's good to understand the structure, but it's not necessary. It's not necessary. It's up to you how interested you are in that. What's going to do the best for you is what you're most interested in. If you think skeletons are weird and creepy, you're not going to learn as much from them as you would just drawing the normal face. If you like skeletons, then yeah, you may learn a lot from doing that, a lot. So it just depends on the person. Notice that I'm keeping my hand very sketchy, like I've had too much tea. I've not, unfortunately. But keeping that sketchy hand is helping me to keep a very loose feel where it's not overly straight. One of the things that I'll see people do a lot is they'll do something like this with a rock. They'll make one smooth edge and they'll fade smoothly from light to dark. It won't look natural. You want to get the variation in there. I want to make this nice and bumpy, get some weird little textures in there. Just think, too much caffeine. Or you could have too much caffeine and try painting that way. I've often had people tell me that they have very shaky hands, so they don't think they can do very realistic work. And I'm like, use that to your advantage. Shaky hands are a good thing when you're doing rocks and mountains and stuff. Viniac, I'm saying that wrong, asked if I'm using a reference photo for this. I've got 3 reference photos on a screen. I don't think any of these, some of them might be royalty free, I don't know, but I'm not copying any of them. I'm just using them to get a general idea of how water flows, how the waterfalls would kind of trickle from one section to another, but this looks nothing like any of them, so I don't have to follow the same rules. Well, I mean, I am following the same rules, but I'm not as worried about using a royalty free image because I'm so not copying anything. So yes, I have reference photos, but again, not copying anything exactly. They're just up so I can see the movement and the way that the waterfalls will flow. Devin, I'm not even answering that. So we've got our base. Let's actually add a highlight a little bit on this one here. So now these big blobs that I had, they have a lot more texture. And I don't, oh good, you will be able to see this. Actually, on which camera? You can kind of see down here. I have to get them painted anyway while this color is out, so you guys may be stuck watching me work off camera. It'll feel like you're on Patreon. Those of you who do watch the Patreon videos know what I'm talking about. It's like my specialty. Not paying attention and working off camera. The brush I'm using is a Simply Simmons. I love these brushes. This one is a round number 12. And it's funny, this one came in one of my Smart Art boxes. And I'll see people that get frustrated with what comes in some of the Smart Art boxes, like they didn't like the Yupo paper with the watercolor. One of my favorite things about those is, or the Smart Art boxes, is that, no, I'm not being paid to say any of this. This is just my personal opinion. You get these supplies that I wouldn't necessarily have bought on my own and realize that I love them. And I use them for other things. It's not just what came in the Smart Art box. That introduced me to how to use some of those mediums or those tools. But I am loving having a reason to try so many different things I wouldn't have otherwise bought. The Yupo paper for the markers, that's one of those. The Yupo paper, everyone was saying how much they disliked it for watercolor, but it works so good with those pigment markers that I was so glad I had that, and that was one that came in the Smart Art box a while back. So I'm going to mix a slightly lighter color now. I would tell you what I'm using, but I don't know the colors of the paints. I'm just throwing stuff together. I just need to make something that's a little bit lighter before I come on with the green. Yeah, Tamara, every time I work off camera and I'm adding the voiceover to my videos, I'm just sitting there going, again, you'd think by now I would be better at making sure my camera was on whatever I'm working on. How many years have I been doing this? And I still get, yeah, it's impressive, really. Now when I come on with the highlights, my goal is not to cover all of the brown I previously did. I'm just hitting little bits here and there. Plus, most of this is going to get covered with green anyway, so I'm going to have to come back through with any highlights I need of the brown, because I'm probably going to end up covering most of it. But the way that I work is generally going to be whatever is farthest back, and I'm going to work my way forward. Painting the rocks like this makes me want to paint meteors. I haven't painted those in a while, but they are fun to paint. All the little holes in the rocks, so much fun. Devin asks who my favorite superhero was growing up. I don't know if they count as superheroes, but it would be Chitara from Thundercats and Voltron. I liked the Blue Lion. I wasn't really into superheroes so much, but those two cartoons I loved. So my brush is a little bit drier now. When I started over here, my brush was wetter than I would have liked it. I should have wiped it off on my paper towel, but I'm lazy. Now that it's getting to where it doesn't have as much wet paint, it's much easier just to smudge in some of these highlights. Now the important thing here is, and this is the same when you're drawing trees, don't think you're just going to have the most perfect looking rock by using brown and your shadowed color. You're usually going to want at least 3 shades. So in trees, I'm going to do the darkest green and then 2 or 3 lighter shades to do like the mountains or trees. And then for rocks, it's going to be the same thing. I've got my darkest color, then I have a darker brown that I put over that, which is lighter than my darkest color, and then now the lighter color. But try to do things in at least 3 shades. It'll look much more realistic. And you can add more than that too. And again, just remember, don't try to cover up everything. It just go a little bit here and there, add a little bit more, back away from it, decide if you need more. And that is going to have way too much paint on it now that I reloaded it. So let's wipe some off on the easel. Can you guys hear my stomach growling? I really wish it would stop doing that. This is not a convenient time. I cannot feed you right now, stomach. You already ate. One of the things you may be able to see, this is how I paint all the time with my camera right next to me. It's like always in my way, so I'm kind of ducking and looking under it. It's kind of funny how that's become a normal way for me to paint, trying to work around my camera. I used to just keep the camera completely off to the side, but it skewed everything so badly. So I got a mic. This is actually a boom mic stand for music. I got a really heavyweight one because being a musician, I've played with enough lightweight ones. I knew that was not going to hold my camera well. So I got this really heavyweight one, which was one of my best investments, but it lets me with the boom arm, it sticks it right in front of my canvas. So I get a much better angle. The only drawback is it's in my face all the time, which is sometimes a pain. Okay. So now they look more like rocks, and I can even come through, and even though I'm gonna cover this, I wanna add this so you guys can see what adding an even lighter shade in just a few areas will make a difference of. Jules asked if I ever knocked my camera over. Yeah, I've knocked everything over at one point or another. Usually it's my tea though. But look at how just a few little highlights. I don't want a lot, but it makes a really big difference. And again, this is gonna get covered in a second with green, so I don't need to do it. I just wanted to show you guys what a difference when you add additional layers, just a little bit. Each additional color is going to be a little bit less than the previous because I want all of the previous colors to still show through. Again, if you are new to painting rocks or anything, whether it be water, whatever, if you're new to it, get a good reference photo. Wait, you know, when you start doing what I'm doing here where I'm making stuff up as I go along, it's because I've painted so many, but I do recommend when you're starting off, make sure you get a lot of reference photos. Most of you, I'm sure, have your cell phones. Take them with you when you go out places. If you're out walking and you see cool rocks, take photos of them and use those. Oh, that is a wet brush. Much more paint on it than I thought. Mara Black asks if my spouse gets upset, lonely when I'm spending so much time with you guys. He prefers it. Kidding, he's actually at work right now. It works out really well. I usually paint really late. He works in pretty late, well, more often than not. So I paint at night. Okay, my paper towels do not want to stay put. There we go. Now, let's see. I guess we can get started with the green. Now, the way that I'm going to do the green, there are 20 different, well, more than that, lots of ways that you can create this look of bushes or moss growing on rocks like this. I'm going to do my first layers with a stiff round brush. I just have to pick which one I want it to be. I'll use this guy. This one is a number 7. It is really cheap, and these are super cheap, but they're so cheap I don't really care. Just shove it back on there. I'm going to mix the color that I want with a separate brush and then load this brush. The reason that I'm not going to mix the paint I want with this one is I want this to be really dry. If this gets really saturated with paint, I may as well use a filbert. For this to get the little dots so it looks like bushes and that fluffy look, then I need this to stay really dry. So I will use a filbert, a separate brush, if I can find them. My desk is an absolute disaster right now. Okay, actually I think my whole studio is. So I'm going to start, just like I did with the rocks, I'm going to start with a darker green, one of the darkest colors. So this one won't really show up that much compared to what the later colors will look like. I'm going to add a little bit of that red. Which color was that? I'm using, I believe, Hooker's green, and I'm adding a little bit of the red oxide to this so that it darkens it up and kind of neutralizes it so that this layer isn't super fluorescent. And I apologize that you can't see my easel, but that's just too many cameras. Or not my easel, my palette. Okay, so once I mix the color, I'm going to rinse out that brush that I mixed it with. Again, I mixed that with a filbert because this one needs to stay dry. Now I'm going to load that with just a little bit of paint on the tip of it. And I'm just going to start dabbing this on there. And you can see the little dots that I'm getting. That's why I need this to be dry. If this brush is soaking wet, I'm just going to get big, huge polka dots, which is not what I want. I just want it to look like there's moss growing on top of these rocks. I do not want to cover all of the brown. That is so important. And I think one of the biggest mistakes that I've seen students make when they draw trees or paint trees and bushes is that they just make these huge solid blobs of color. I want to make sure that my previous layers are showing through. Aubrey asks, no, wrong person. No, it was Aubrey asked or said I should do a video on mixing paints and acrylic. Play with the paints. I may make a video, a basic video, but honestly, you just have to play with them. I don't think, and I've seen people make videos like that. I don't know how necessary they are. You have to play with it. You have to experience it yourself. That's one of those things that I don't think is that helpful to necessarily watch someone else. Now, I would like to, okay, I can do it so you can see how much water I'm mixing with it. I guess that would be helpful. But then I've done the glazing videos where you do see me mixing, so that would probably be more useful to you. But the actual mixing colors and how you've got to play with them. You've got to experiment with them and make some pretty ugly colors and decide, hey, I'm not going to mix those two together again. But so much with art, you have to be willing to experiment. Now this color here that I have, the reason that it's this nice dark olive green, it's because of mixing the red in with it, so it's not so bold and vivid. One of the things with the Liquitex Basics is that they don't have as many colors available as the Liquitex Heavy Body, but I like the consistency of these so much that these are my go-to paints. So you're going to have to learn how to mix colors that you don't necessarily, or you're not able to buy, like this mossy green. This I'm pretty sure I can buy with a heavy, actually I probably own it with a Heavy Body, but to mix this, I'm just going to neutralize it by mixing a color that is its complement. So here with the green, I added that reddish brown color, and that gave me this really nice olive mossy I can call it all kinds of different names, but it's one of those just very neutral green. Colin asks if I usually glaze with oil paints and have an underpainting of acrylics. It's one of my favorite ways to paint. I just love the results that I get. Here's where I'm working off the camera, so I apologize. But it's one of my favorite looks. It lets you take advantage of both the fast dry time of acrylics to get the underpainting and then the slow dry time for blending with the oil for your last layers. So I do it a lot. I haven't lately. I need to do one of those. Mostly just because I've been short on time and acrylics are so much faster just to do something all in acrylic. K Art asks what kind of paint or brush I use for signing paintings. I use a liner brush, and usually it's going to be a synthetic hog hair. I really like ones. Hobby Lobby carries a brush that I love, their Masters Touch or Masters. It's their generic brush, but that one, I'd say a number 3 is my usual brush, a number 3 or a number 4. And I do have a video showing you how to use, whoops, that's too much of a glob, pull some of that off. I have a video showing you how to use a liner brush, so that would help for that. Just search Lachri and liner brush and it should come up. Okay, so now I'm going to just wipe that brush off. I'm going to use the same brush I used before, that Filbert, and I'm going, if I can find it, and I'm going to mix a lighter shade of this color. So I'm just going to mix straight into the color I already had and start lightening it up. I'm going to add a little bit of Naples yellow, more green. I'm not going to go with as much of the red this time. Use a little bit of unbleached titanium white to lighten it up even more. I think that's going to be too light. Let's add more green. Now I've got to mix a decent amount of water with this because just straight paint, it's not going to dab off the stiff brush quite right. So I do have to have water. There's no magic formula. You're just going to have to play with it, test a little bit. If it's too much, wipe some of the water off. Now, one of the things that I regularly do is I will dab the paint onto the brush and then just hold it on the paper towel a little bit so it soaks. If I have too much water, the water alone will soak into the paper towel and the rest of most of the paint stays on the brush. This brush may be getting to the point of being oversaturated, so I might need to switch out. Kateria, I think oils, you said that you, where did it go? You'd love to try oils, but your chicken, it seems overwhelming. I think they're easier. As long as you know to wait, when to wait and let it dry in between layers. That's where most people run into trouble because they'll create mud by blending and keep painting, and they really should just let it dry for a day or, well, how, depending on the mixing medium they're using. This is a little globby. I don't know if I like this one. Dab some of that off. I need to dry this brush. It's too wet, and so what's happening is I'm getting polka dots instead of that look that I want. I'm actually just going to rinse that brush off and put it to the side and grab a dry brush. And these stiff brushes that I'm using, I love these guys when they're more damaged. When they're new, they're too soft, so I intentionally don't do a great job of cleaning them because they work much better when they're a little bit damaged. Okay, let's see if that goes better. That's a little better. I should probably switch to a smaller brush. Yeah, we're gonna switch again. See what I mean though, when I'm always saying it's about experimenting. It's not that I always know the answer. I know they don't like the results I was getting, so I'm gonna switch brushes, because I'll have people ask me all the time, which brush do you use for this? Which size? How do you know which size? Or even with the colors, how do you know which color? I don't know. I try it. If it doesn't look good, I try something else until I find something that does look good. There we go. This is giving me better results. I needed a much smaller brush for this stage. It's really important that I do not cover all of my previous green. And the off-camera stage. Davia asks, can you give tips on how to control brushes? I usually work with pencil and I find brushes so difficult to use. Practice. That it's as simple as that. You just practice. The more you do it, the more it's going to make sense. Trust me, I did not have any control when I started painting. That's just, you have to practice. There's no like magic formula there either. Nothing has a magical formula, it seems, does it? But you just want to practice with them. Now what I'm doing with where I'm catching the tops of this, I'm working with those previous patterns I created in the rocks. I want it to look like the moss is growing on them. So like these little holes where it's really dark, I'm not going to put green there. I want that to look like it's a deep shadow, so I don't want to put highlights over that. Now I do want my highlights, my brightest portions of the green, to be much brighter here than what I have in the background, because I want the background to look like it's far in the back. In order to pull these forward, I will end up putting a lot more highlights on these. That was getting too uniform, so I'm just going to take my finger and dab on that. You want to watch when you use a brush like this to create moss or bushes that it's not all the same. You don't want to start creating patterns within those brush strokes. Make sure you're getting a lot of variation. working off screen again, getting these bottom rocks out of the way. And if I go too crazy and put highlights like way brighter than I want, no big deal. I'll just paint over them. It's not something to stress yourself out over. You've just got to teach yourself to learn to play with the paint. Let what happens happen. And if you like it, great, do it again. If you don't like it, cover it up and do something else. Ruby asks if I've ever tried painting with an alternative tool as brushes to create different textures. Yeah, I actually have a tool. Is it here? I do. I have this one that I picked this up. It was on clearance, and I use it to create wood grain sometimes. It creates a really cool look where you just drag it in the wet paint. I also use plastic bags a lot to create texture in backgrounds. Or at least I used to. I haven't in a while. I'm not really open to trying alternative paints or different subjects to paint with where people are like mixing their own watercolors and stuff. That's not going to be light fast. But as far as the tools that you paint with, absolutely. Those don't have to be archival. So try different things. Maybe a spoon will give you great results. I'm not sure what for, but you know, I'm sure there's great things that it can do. One of the things that I'm doing here is I'm twisting and turning the brush a whole lot so that I do get variation, so I don't end up with all the same pattern everywhere. Now I'm going to go around my edges because all around I've got this dark brown that's kind of outlining everything. I want to make sure that I do not have that on the tops. So I've got to break that up. You can see that on this one where I've got that dark black on the background. Actually, I'm going to switch to a smaller brush so I have a little bit more control. I'm going to use the round brush I was using earlier and just kind of dab and dot to break that up. Oh, I missed one back there. Yeah, I like what Tales of Color says. Not every medium is suited for everyone. Definitely agree with that because there's certain mediums I don't like. I don't work well with watercolor. I think it's beautiful, or pastels. Pastels are gorgeous. They're just not for me. If you don't like one, it doesn't mean that you're bad at art or you should give up. You just need to find the mediums that work for you. Ledwin asks if Winsor & Newton dry slower to Liquitex. They're similar because you're getting into when you get into the heavier body paints, if those are the ones you're talking about, all of the heavy body paints, which I believe the Winsor & Newtons are, and I could be wrong because I don't use them, they all seem to dry kind of fast to me. The Liquitex basics seem to dry much, much slower in comparison. They all dry fast, but I mean, it is, for me at least, I don't know if you'd notice it if you were new to the medium, but because I've been using it for like 20 years, it's definitely a noticeable difference to me. Okay, let's go little on this edge. Okay, so right now the green that I have is very similar to the green back here. That, if you're doing a landscape, is not how you want to leave things. There's no depth at all. It's just super, super flat. So now I'm going to come on top with some highlights after I drink some tea. Wow, there's a lot of condensation. I just poured that all over myself. I have paper towels. Okay. What was I doing? Lighter color. And the lighter color, I think I'm going to try adding this with the round brush and see if I like how the results I get with that. If not, I'll switch to one of the stiff rounds. So here's one of the cool things about mixing greens. When you mix blues, I don't usually mix like the ultramarines and the phthalo blues, where one's close to purple, one's close to green on the color wheel. I usually like to keep those separate in a painting. There are exceptions, but for the most part, greens, all shades of green, look great next to all other shades of green. It's like one of those home decorating things that's really cool. If you decorate with green, you don't have to worry about finding the perfect green to go with the other green. They all look good together. So here, the greens that I'm mixing, I don't really have to worry about them being perfect. Doesn't matter so much. Okay, let's see if this is going to be the right shade. It might be too bright. That'll probably work. Let me try a different brush though. That's going to get globby. I have brushes everywhere. If I can only find the one I want. This might work. Let's try this brush. This one is a stiff brush like the round ones I was using, but this one's a flat. It may look too uniform. We'll find out. Nope, I think this will work. I think I'm going to have to come through with that round brush though and define a few sections here and there. That is a good tip from Jules, who says, anyone who wants to learn how to mix colors, limit your palette. Best advice ever. Don't try to mix every color in your selection. If you're new to painting, for example, I recommend a lot of times people just start with black and white. Get used to mixing your colors just by using the black and white. 1 second, my monitor just went off with my reference photo. Okay, sorry about that. I have a wireless mouse that I normally keep over by my easel so that I can keep it awake, but I forgot to bring it over with me. But yeah, I use the black and white is just such a good way to get started because it gives you a feel for the paint and blending and just how you can get wet into wet, how you can do all of the different shading without having to worry about colors. Then add one color, maybe blue. Blue, black, and white, you can create some beautiful work with just those colors. Or even black, white, and brown. I mean, you've got a lot of options there, and just slowly add additional colors. Too much at once, though, can definitely get overwhelming and have not so great results. That said, I started with all the colors, and eventually I learned. But I find for a lot of students, it's easier to limit that. Ledwin asks, is it worth taking art or painting classes in college as an elective? I think any exposure to art you can get into is a good thing. Whether or not those classes are going to teach you much is a whole different thing because it depends on who your teacher is. Some are amazing and some will teach you absolutely nothing, but it's art, so it's fun. So even if they teach you to work in a style that you're not interested in, I always tell people learn it anyway because you may be able to apply what you learned there to your style. So yes, anytime you have the opportunity to take art classes, I say it's a good thing. And working off camera section. I would adjust my camera for you guys so you could see, but it was so hard to get these set up as it was. I'm not touching them. I'd spend the next 15 minutes trying to get them back to the way they are now. So I'm coming back over sections that I've already gone and pushing a little bit harder with my brush so that I get some thicker chunks. Again, that variation. I don't want it to all look the same. Okay, my screen is super far away from me. I can hardly read the name, so I'm apologizing if I'm not catching all the letters. Asks for any tips on doing this kind of painting with oils. I pretty much do it the exact same way. The only difference is, and you'll see this in the video next Wednesday, I paint my entire background purple and then paint everything over it in layers that way. With oil, I would have drawn out my mountains separately and painted my sky around it because it dries so slow. But I pretty much do most of it the same, with the exception of using the airbrush for the background, but you can just hand paint in that section there. So yeah, it's the techniques, the brushes, everything I'm using here are pretty much the same in oils as they are in acrylics. You just have to let it dry between layers. Wherever I let it dry with acrylics between layers is where you need to let it dry with oils between layers. This brush, as it's getting a little bit more wet and a little bit more used, it's actually starting to work better for me. My first couple of brush strokes, I wasn't sure about it. Whoops, that was not a good one. In a few of these areas, I'm pushing too hard on accident and not liking the results I'm getting. So what I'm going to do is take a clean brush and just lift some of that back off. What's underneath is completely dry, so this will work. If that was not dry, I would have lifted off all the previous colors, which is not cute. Don't do that. There we go, much lighter. Okay, so I've got a weird thing going here where I just stopped with the black. I don't know what the heck or how I missed that. So let's go ahead and paint some rock back there so it kind of trickles down. I don't know what's going on there. That is not cute. I'm probably going to have a waterfall coming off this side, but just that straight dark line that I had there was not okay. Now we're at the stage where the camera is in my way, so I'm like hunching down trying to, whoops, there we go. So now we're at a stage where it's brighter than back here, but I still need more highlights. So I'll come on with another lighter color to make them pop even more. And of course, when I put the waterfalls in, that's going to be pretty bright, and so that's going to make them stand out pretty well too. But I think we could do more. Oops. I've got to work off camera for a second here. Forgot the highlights on this guy. Hey, good news is it is on my regular camera, so this part will be on the video next week. Okay, so now I'm going to mix an even lighter shade of what I currently had, and all I'm doing when I mix the paint, I'm just adding lighter colors into the previous color that I used. Mostly Naples yellow, unbleached titanium white, and a really bright green. Is that much lighter? It looks about the same. I don't think I'm going much lighter yet. With acrylics, remember every time you get paint on that brush, don't just set it down thinking, oh, I'm going to use it in a second. Rinse it out every single time and set the brush to the side. Another tip is that you do not want to store your wet brushes. When you rinse them off, don't stick them in a cup where they're sitting like this. The water is going to run down into the barrel here, and there's glue holding those bristles into place, and you can actually cause all of the bristles to kind of loosen up and fall out. So whenever you rinse out your brush with water, just set it to the side, like, you know, rinse it out. I just wiped the water off of it, and I'm just going to set it to this, or on its side. But setting them upright in a cup, or even worse, setting them facing down, leaving your cup of water filled with brushes angled down like this, you will damage all of your brushes so fast. Never leave your brushes sitting in a cup this way either. Okay, so let's see if this next color is going to be light enough. Yeah, that should work. I've got to be careful though. I don't want to go crazy with this one. This one is going to take the least amount of space of all the greens that I put on here. Just want a little. But look how it starts making these rocks stand out so much closer to the viewer than the mountains in the background. And that's what I'm doing here. I want to create that depth. Again, do not want to cover up all of what I previously did. That would be a huge waste. Yeah, Tomorrow says, unless you want to have them damaged, that can be useful. Yeah, don't throw away your damaged brushes. I have some that are pretty messed up, and I love them. So, you know, there's definitely use for the damaged ones, but I like to let them get damaged over time, not because of one time of leaving them in a cup. And anytime you think you've ruined a brush, don't throw it out. You would be amazed how many times you need a brush with that specific damage and dried paint on it to get certain effects. A little too globby there. Globby. It's a technical term. And that's definitely going to be too globby. Now look at putting the highlight here, how it pushed this forward from that, which was important because that was fading too much into the background. Actually, now it's too bright. I'll have to tone it down a little. But I did definitely want to get some of that highlight to separate him. Okay, that's pretty good for these. I think I skipped a whole rock here, though. And then we get to start on waterfalls. Bonjo something lover, I don't know, asks, hi, question, what is your best advice for self-discipline regarding practice? It's like anything else in life, you just have to make yourself do it. So I don't know that there's good advice other than that you have to do it. I always remember, and I think anytime you work from home, that can be a challenge for some people that don't have the self-discipline to really get work done. But one of my favorite quotes, which I'm not even going to quote right, I'm going to mess it all up. Mark Twain, he's the author. Oh, I'm going to make myself sound like an idiot. I normally research this stuff before I say it. But said something along the lines of his job being an author or being self-employed or being an author was great because he can't, what did he say? Something about, oh, I don't even remember now, but something along the lines of how he, yeah, it's great. He's at work every morning at, oh no, it was when inspiration inspires. Someone can quote this in the thing because I'm screwing this up. But something about when inspiration hits, and he said, yeah, every Monday morning at 8 a.m. or 9 a.m., something along those lines. But it basically, you have to make yourself do it. You can't sit around and wait for inspiration or wait till you're in the mood. If this is something you're going to do, especially as a living, you just have to make yourself do it. Kind of like going to the gym. While I have a few friends who think that it's a lot of fun, I think they're insane. I have to make myself go because I'd rather not. But I know it needs to be done and it makes my back feel better. So I have to get up and go do it. It's just like anything else. So I think those stand out pretty well. I almost do. Oh, they kind of glow on camera. I may tone them down a little bit by glazing some green over areas later on, but we are going to move on to the waterfalls. And I forgot to get one of my tubes of paint out that I need. Be right back. Okay, we have a transparent mixing white. This is the one at Liquitex Heavy Body that I go through like crazy because they don't make this in the basics. And this is one that I can always see how fast it dries compared to the other paint, because I'll put this out next to my regular titanium white. The titanium white stays wet for a really long time. This stuff starts to dry pretty quickly. But it's really translucent, so it works well for some of the effects that I do with water. My first bits of water that I'm going to do, I'm going to be using that. I'm actually going to mix some of the teal turquoisey colors for my base. And to mix that color, I'm going to mix phthalo blue and phthalo green together with some white. I'm just going to use regular white for this. I'm running out of room on my palette. Yep, that'll work. And I'm just going to pull some lines straight down from this. And I'll be putting white over it. I just want this as a base. Now, I'm working on a Frederick's mixed media canvas board. These are really, really flat, but they're super smooth. So a lot of what I'm doing, I'm getting really smooth results because the canvas is so smooth. If this was a rougher canvas, you would see the white, the little dots everywhere, that dry brush look that I'm not going to have happen on this canvas. I'm just pulling these down in a vertical line. You can't see what I'm doing right now because, you know, a little off-camera issue. Just trust me, it looks cool. Too bad you can't see it. So with the waterfall, see how I'm kind of curving them in where it's flat, and I'm just curving it toward the next flat section, and then it's going to pour down this way. How many of you guys played Warcraft and know what inspired this? Tamara wants to know where the water is going. I was telling Joseph Fincham this earlier. If you call something surreal, you don't have to follow laws of physics at all. It's amazing. What, my perspective sucks? It was surreal. It's fine. Just kidding. Your perspective should probably still be good. All these will stand out much, much more once I hit the point where I'm adding the white. Kateria, I agree. I have been enjoying Legion so much. I play for like an hour before I go to bed every night. Otherwise, I lay in bed and think about art and work nonstop, but it kind of gets my mind off of it. I've had so much fun with this expansion. Erica asked, could this be applied to oils? Absolutely. The techniques I'm using would be exactly the same. And I talked about that a little bit earlier, where it's just a matter of making sure you let it dry in between each layer. Okay, we'll start putting some highlights over these now. I may not even need that transparent mixing white. We'll see. It may be too light for this. Actually, I'm going to switch to a stiff brush so that I get streaks without having to actually put in all the work. I don't have one out right now. Okay, let's see if I've got one down here. Nope. This one will work. This brush is probably really dusty because it's been under my easel too long. This one's normally been for oil, so it's a little bit on the stiff side because it is a bit damaged, but that's going to work perfect for what I need now. It's going to create streaks for me without me having to do much work. They'll have to come back through with a smaller brush for some details, but it's a start. Areas like that where I just go outside the line. We'll cover that back up. Someone asked, that is a long name. Chemical Kid Music asked, do I ever do Twitch art stream? I haven't yet. I don't know that I want to, wow, talking is hard again. I don't know that I'd say I never would, but right now YouTube, the platform just does what I need it to. So what benefits, if you use it, or if you guys have used Twitch, what benefits do you see of using Twitch versus streaming on YouTube? Barbara, no, I'm not on Twitch. I've never used it. So I'm asking you guys what reasons you see to use that versus YouTube. I honestly don't know really what the difference is. I haven't researched it. Miguel asked, has anyone heard of Joel Rea? One of the best artists in the world ever. Oh my gosh, that guy's phenomenal. I think we all have those artists that we see their work and we're like, I'm just going to give up. That is incredible. Like, that I'm never going to get to that point. Yes, even I have those moments. They don't last more than a few seconds. But yeah, he's one of the artists that every time I look at him, I'm like, wow. This brush is really dry. I have hardly had to reload it at all. Ruby says, I prefer these. They stay here on YouTube. Yeah, that was kind of my thought because I'm basically getting a video that I don't have to edit. So, which is a big deal because editing is the part that takes so long. Now, normally you guys will hear me say how much I dislike dry brushing and the look of dry brushing. This is one of those times, this canvas, it doesn't look like it's dry brushing, even though technically that's what I'm doing. I'm just using a very dry brush and just lightly, I'm not pushing hard, I'm just pulling that brush down. April asks, how do you have a solution for canvas pitting? I use Golden and Liquitex, but I still have issues with canvas. What do you mean pitting? I'm not sure what you're asking. Is it warping or stretching or? I need more information, basically. Okay, I'm going to use a softer brush now. I'm switching to a flat Taklon bristled brush. I want to start having a little bit more control of these white lines that come down for the water. This is going to be a much smoother brush stroke. I can also better define the water, the sparkle on the top of the water. This area was a little bit too much with the dry brush, so I'm going to use this brush that's got a little bit of water on it right now and smooth that out. Oh, the tooth of the canvas showing through, it's your canvas. That's not really an issue of your paint, it's an issue of the canvas you're choosing. If you want a smoother canvas, you can go with like a Frederick's Blue Label or the Frederick's Belgian Linen. This one is the Frederick's, what did I say it was? The mixed media board. These are super smooth and that is going to make a big difference for you. But if the canvas has too much tooth, you can also gesso it and then sand it down, but it's easier. I've done that when I have canvases that I like the size of or like something about it that didn't like the tooth. It is easier if you just get a canvas that has smooth tooth to begin with. And no, I'm not being paid by Frederick's. That's just my preferred canvas. I've had so many bad experiences with canvases that were warping and like the Hobby Lobby generic brand. I've had a lot of problems with those, and so I kind of swore those off years ago. Just curving the water out so it looks like it's kind of spilling towards the rock or out around it. Jacob asks if I usually plan my paintings or if I start painting and whatever happens, happens. I normally plan them out quite well. I usually plan them in Photoshop because I can't tell you how many times I didn't and it was just a mess. It didn't look good. So normally I do a lot of planning first. This one was a little bit different because it was, I guess I technically sort of planned it. It was from that 10-minute painting challenge and I liked the concept, so I'm just redoing it where I'm taking more time. So this one, it falls more under the what happens, happens, but that's not normal for me. Susan asked if this is straight white for the highlights. It is. Right now I'm just using my titanium, well, not straight white. I've got white water mixed in with it. But it's not the transparent at this point. And this is a lot like the way that I did the bushes or the moss on the rocks, where I'm just picking out little highlights here and there. little horizontal lines. Anything where the water is flat, you've got to make sure that those lines are completely horizontal. It's really easy to want to make them diagonal. Don't do that ever. Jacob asks what my favorite medium to work in. I like a lot of them. I wouldn't want to have to choose just one. If I was forced to only use one medium forever, it would probably be acrylics because I can do most things with it as long as I can use my airbrush, but I would not be happy just using one medium. And it's hard for me to say which my favorite is. It's usually whichever one I'm currently working with. There's a lot I like about many different mediums. Looking under my camera is always such a pain. And yes, I complain about it every time I have to do so, even when you guys aren't here. One of the things that I'm going to try, normally I would use my airbrush for this to kind of make a fuzzy end where a lot of the water is hitting, but actually I'm not done with this one. But I'm going to try using the transparent mixing white to create a little bit of fog where the water ends, just because the airbrush is noisy and I'm being lazy and I don't want to set it up. Suddenly forgot what I was going to do. I remember now. What brush do I want to do this with? Yeah, that might work. Where did my filter go? There it is. So I'm going to do this with my transparent mixing white. And actually, oh yeah, you'll be, no, wait, will you be able to see it? You're not going to be able to see this very much on camera, so sorry. Let's see if there's questions I can answer while I'm doing this, since it's not going to show up. Let's see. I need a good question, guys. Because you're not going to be able to see what I'm doing, and it's just weird. Good news is it's doing what I want. Bad news is you're going to have to wait till next Wednesday to see this part. What I'm doing, if you guys saw the video when I showed you how to do rain and create mist with the transparent mixing white, I'm doing that at the ends of the waterfall, so it just kind of fades out, and just smudging that in. Noah asked, when did I decide I wanted to be a professional artist? I was 19, I believe. I was walking down at Laguna Beach and I saw a lady. At the time, I was painting mostly just for my own fun. I didn't consider it a career, but wasn't totally sure what I wanted to do at the time. Yeah, 19, out of high school, still didn't know what I wanted to do for sure. But anyway, so I'm walking with a friend down at Laguna Beach in California, and we came across this lady's booth who was selling paintings of dolphins and whales, and her perspective was so off. Her everything. I mean, it was pretty terrible. I don't know a nice way to put that. But I mean, this is a lady who had a very expensive booth at I mean, Laguna Beach, that is an expensive area. And her paintings, she had them priced at like, you know, $1,500, $3,000, a lot of money. And I thought, oh my gosh, I can do this better than her. So I'm going to make tons of money. That's how art works, right? Yeah, no, not at all. But that's kind of what that moment where it was like, okay, you know what? This is what I want to do now. I really want to pursue art. This is something that I can do that I'm better than average at. I don't want to say I was good, but I was better than average. And yeah, that's the moment that I decided that's what I wanted. Morgan asked, do I have any advice on drawing or painting people? Yes, practice a lot. It's practice. Practice tracing them too. If you trace something enough times, that's going to help you to notice things you didn't notice on your own. The goal is not to forever trace. The goal is just to start noticing things. So if you're really having a hard time, you can start there, but you also have to freehand, and it's just going to take a lot of practice. Noah asked, when I went from being a starving artist to being successful. That Patreon made a big difference. I mean, I was making a living. Okay, before I was a starving artist, I was a starving receptionist at an animal hospital. You don't make much doing that, by the way. When I started with art full time, I started making, within the first year or so, I was making the same amount I was working at the animal hospital full time. Again, not much. I had many years where I made like $2,000-$3,000 the entire year, and then I had other years that it was more what I made at the animal hospital. That went on for a long time, and the problem with art when you're just trying to make a living selling is that you don't know when you're going to have good or bad years. And I didn't understand marketing. I think that was my biggest problem for so many years. I had no concept of business and marketing with art. I didn't know how to do it. This is before YouTube, before a lot of the social media. And like most of us, we get to where we're good at painting, and then we're like, well, now what do we do with it? How do we sell this? Where do we take this? You don't have a name for yourself, so a lot of the galleries aren't going to be interested for that reason alone, even if your work is of the same quality that they look for. So that was definitely a big challenge. And I would say I no longer considered myself a starving artist. That Patreon made a big difference. 2 years ago I started that. That really helped because it was more consistent. So it wasn't so much of a scary, am I going to be able to pay my bills this month? Which is never fun. But like I said, you don't necessarily know when you're going to get good sales. So you have to plan and save a lot so that you're okay during those dry spells. But yeah, I would say Patreon is what made the biggest. YouTube. I mean, that it all comes through YouTube. That's one of the greatest things that you can do to get your name out there, I think, as an artist. C Rebel asks if anyone has ever told me to get a real job or just being unsupportive in general. My mother-in-law, who I love, does not think art is a real job. So she, for many years, was trying to help me get another job as a receptionist. And it's like, no, I've decided I'm pursuing art. I was making as much as I would as a receptionist, and I can't do both because of my health problems. I am drained a lot, the fibromyalgia and all the other problems. So, yeah, she's definitely not been one who thought it was a real job. I mean, she's not usually straight out mean about it. It's kind of like underhanded, hey, so-and-so's hiring right now. And I'm like, I have a job. Well, at the time I was teaching too, so I did have a job. But the fact that I work from home, a lot of people think if you work from home, you're not really working. So yeah, that is pretty much the only one though. So what I'm doing right now, I'm just kind of focusing on little highlights, little areas I want to stand out a bit more. I'm still using the transparent mixing white now. wondering, I may pull a little bit of purple into my waterfall so they're not so turquoise. It's a little too much teal. Not something you think you'd hear me say, right? But if you're going to get into art, one thing I do recommend if you're making a living with this, teach. That's probably was one of the most helpful things for me, is teaching my own classes. That gives you a little bit more of a solid income. If you go to like Hobby Lobby, Michael's I don't think does. That's where I started teaching. But they just have like Wilton cake decorating and scrapbooking and stuff. They're Donna do vary, but they don't have fine arts, or at least they didn't when I moved from California. Like actually the day I left California was the last day they had the classes there. But that one, if you can start teaching, that's a really good way to make an income on top of your own art. So when you have those dry spells, they're not quite so scary because you know you've got the teaching income still. Plus, I think you learn so much from teaching people. And you never know. You may be like me and find out you think that it's one of the best things ever. I love teaching. What I'm doing right now is coming back through with the purple so that they're not quite so teal. Angelica asked, do you think it's important to go to school for art? I didn't. Most professional artists I know did not. A few professional artists I know who are amazing did. It depends on what you expect from school too. Not all art schools are created the same. Some, I think a lot of people go thinking they're going to learn to paint better, and that's not normally what you go for. It seems like most of the art schools, it's kind of working with what you already know. They give you assignments that aren't necessarily teaching, and it's not that, it depends on the teacher, honestly. But I don't think that it's necessary. I don't necessarily think that it's bad. I think that it's very expensive, and I know a whole lot of people with art degrees who work at Macy's. So I don't think they teach you in most of the schools the things that you need to know for business and marketing. I think that's one of the biggest downfalls with a lot of the schools. So the white or the purple that I'm using right now, it's the transparent mixing white mixed in with my dioxazine purple. And I'm just using that filbert, that soft brush, and brushing over that. And my neighbor's TV is super loud. Yeah, that looks much softer. Well, I think I still can tone some of this down. Tamara says, don't teach at Sip and Strokes. Yeah, went once. It looked like fun, less anxiety. Those, if you have the option to teach at one of those places, the drink while you paint things, those are actually a lot of fun to teach at. And you can make, well, depending on, I worked for the people who owned, actually it was Lacey, who's from Dave & Buster's. It's Buster's wife, Lacey, is the one who ran the place that I taught at for a little while. And that was a really fun thing to teach at, and it was decent money. I think I made $20 an hour or something like that. It didn't matter how many students I had, I was guaranteed that amount of money, which was a really nice thing to teach at. I know they have a lot of those different types of classes. Some, they're not all created equally, that's for sure. Some of them in the area, the teachers were getting drunk with the students. That's not appropriate. I mean, you're not really teaching real art classes, but at least it's a career within art, and it's usually going to be a fairly stable income. This is the stage of the painting where it looks like not a lot is happening. I just realized I've not had my video camera on this whole time, so Patreon, I'm going to have to download this video and stick it on. You're not going to get as high a quality. That sucks. I'm dumb. I can luckily download what came from the webcam, so not as high quality, but yeah. This is a learning process. I'm going to make mistakes. I even made sure I had a full memory card, or empty memory card. Everything was set up. Oh well. yeah, mixing the purple in. You see how it's softening that teal? It was just definitely, like when I squinted at it, it was like, wow, that's really too much color. Chemical Kid Music asked, what do you need to be an art teacher for Michael's? I heard they have teachers there or something. You have to teach and be certified to teach Donna Dewberry and Wilton stuff, at least last I checked. I don't think they have fine art classes anymore, so that's not going to be a place you're probably going to want to teach at. But places like Hobby Lobby, they do have art classes, and you just need to go in and talk to their manager, show them what you teach. The thing is with those, you have to build your own following, your own students. So you may have days that you have one student, and it may not feel like it's really worth your time to go in, but you have to, otherwise you don't grow. So that's, it still comes back to learning business and marketing, knowing how to get your name out there. Websites are a great way, because if it can come up on the Google searches, people can find you for your city for art classes. You can put ads in Craigslist sometimes, although I had sometimes where I would get flagged as not being I don't know, people would flag it when they didn't want that type of ad on Craigslist for some reason. Sometimes it was fine, sometimes it wasn't. It doesn't really matter, you just relist it if you need to. But that was a good way to advertise. But yeah, I think Hobby Lobby is the only one that I know of as far as the big chains that have classes. Partners in Crimes asked if I would recommend teaching art classes. That's what I was talking about. Absolutely. And if you're uncomfortable teaching at first, teach kids. Do kids classes. That is a great way to start. That's how I started. I was teaching preteens and teens. Kristen asks, what did you love most about teaching? It's fun watching a student have that aha moment where they're like, oh, that makes sense, I get it now. When they knew something was going wrong and you show them how to fix it. And it's cool to see students get really excited about succeeding, watching them do something and be happy about it, that you were able to help them. This is the brush I want. So I'm going to start putting some little sparkles in my water. Just little dots. Oops, these aren't looking good. I think I need a liner brush for this. This one's too big. Okay, I think I have a liner brush somewhere. If I can find it. There it is. So this one is a number 4. It's a fairly large brush for a liner anyway. I need to get some more number 3s. Noah asked if I've ever considered giving digital lessons. I don't have time for that. It works out great for some people, but time is a huge, huge issue for me. So yeah, that is definitely not something on my to-do list. Just gonna, whoop, that was too blocky. Just gonna take a wet brush and wipe that section that I just smudged. Go away. There we go. I had too much paint on that brush. Partners in Crime ask, what is a good price to charge for teaching a class? $20 is pretty average for a 2-hour group class. But you can also set it up so that people pay in advance for like a month at a time. There's a lot of different ways that you can set that up and how you can charge. Some people will do a course where it's like 5 weeks, everyone paints the same thing. Mine was not everyone paints the same thing. Everyone chose their own project, and I just walked around student to student and helped them with what they wanted to paint. But if you set something up where like everybody's painting the same apple, you can do it as like a 5-week course and charge a few $100s per student. I had them bring their own supplies, so that wasn't something that I had to deal with. I gave them a supply list. Chemical Kid Music asks, what do you think of art teachers who go by the book and tell you what to paint versus teachers who let you paint whatever you want? I had both teachers like that. I think they both serve a purpose. I think that you can learn from both of that. My favorite teacher was one who would give us assignments. My senior year in high school had an AP studio art class. I just showed them what I was drawing on my own, and they put me in that class. And he didn't teach us anything. He just said, here's the supplies, here's your theme, like transparency. Everyone was doing glasses, like cups. Not me. I did transparent tigers because it's me. I'm not going to do the same thing as everyone else. But that was fun to me, where he just let us explore the mediums on our own. That was my favorite. But even the ones who go by the book, you may learn something different from different types of teachers. Everyone learns differently. So I don't want to say that one is good and one is bad. I think they both have their place. So I'm just putting these little dots up front because these are going to be closer to the viewer, so they would see more detail. Back here, you're really not going to see that, so I'm not going to put any of these little dots back there. These are just little water sparkles. Noah asks, what is my most inspiring moment in my art career? I don't know, I'm pretty excited to pay my bills every month. That inspires me. Yay, I can buy groceries. It's the most inspiring thing ever. I don't know, I love that feeling when you finish something and you're like, wow, I just did that. Like, how? I can't believe I just made that. That to me is the best feeling, when I finish something and just look back at it, you know, step back from a distance and excited about something that I've made. So that and paying bills. You don't appreciate how wonderful it is to be able to pay your bills on time every month until you're not able to easily. Asteroid something asks, do you get frustrated when you don't get what you're looking for in a painting? No, I just keep working on it till I do get what I'm looking for. So that's never really a problem. Just keep layering till it looks how you want it to. It's not like I'm having a bad day and there's no way I'm going to paint something good. Just layer over it until it does. It's not like I've got it or I don't have it. It's just, do you need extra layers until it looks good? Which is pretty much what I'm doing right now, just layering until I get what I like. Mark Hagen asks, what was your inspiration for this painting? That 10-minute challenge that I did today, if you saw that video, I had to get a painting done in 10 minutes. And so I had to come up with something that I could do really, really quickly. Surrealism and acrylic, to me, go hand in hand for something I can do very fast. And the design that I came up with, it was just a quick, like, I just want to do some waterfalls and throw this together. And I like the way that floating land looks, so I combined those for that painting, and I liked how that one came up well enough that I went ahead and decided to do a longer version, which is what I'm doing here. So I would definitely say part of this is inspired probably from Nagrand in World of Warcraft. And now you know I'm a nerd. Although I think my Gerpool shirt probably let you know I was a nerd, so cat's out of the bag. So notice that I'll put dots, I back away, I squint, and then I go back and add more where I think they might be necessary. One of the things that you do not want to do is just start putting polka dots everywhere. Don't get so excited that you're like, wow, that looks good, so I'm going to put them everywhere. Put a little, back away. Put a little, back away, and that's why I keep squinting so I can see how my balance is. That doesn't look good. Get out. There we go. We should ask our, I think, questions in all caps so Lisa can tell the difference between questions and us chatting. It's not a terrible idea, but then I'll think you're yelling at me and, you know, I might hide under my easel and it just gets awkward for everybody. Those who are putting the @ sign and then my name, that is easy for me to notice. Assuming I happen to look when it scrolls by. That looks sparkly. Okay, now is the stage where I'm going to just kind of step back and keep looking at things that are standing out to me too weird. There's a couple. One is, where's my other brush? This area right here. I need a lighter purple. See how this rock comes down and straight up? It is so harsh right there. I need to break that up. That just doesn't look right. Soften the edge, do something. There we go. And actually, I can pull some of this purple into the rocks a little bit on the bottom. Just create a little bit more of a soft transition. This is where you want to start paying attention to, is your attention being drawn to the wrong area? I'm just doing touch-ups here and there. Barbara says, lightning bugs would accent it well. You know what? I agree. I'm not going to put them in this, but I think those, I would happily put those in every painting, I think. Okay, let's see. What else do I want to add to this? I think you can add some more highlights on the waterfalls. Tamara asks, will there be any animals in this? Birds or water creatures? Nope. This is pretty much it for, like what I'm doing tonight, what I finish with, this is all I'm going to do on this one. I want to keep it really simple. One of the reasons that I decided to do this one this week is I am out of time because I'm working on 2 projects, well 3, because I've got that commission I told you guys about last week, the secret one that I can't tell you about till I think March. So I'm trying to do more work than I normally do. So like I don't have any high detailed colored pencil work right now because I don't have time to do both. Acrylic I can do fast, so I needed something really simple. Although I am thinking maybe a simple landscape colored pencil for next week, which would be fairly small, and then I could show you guys how to do a cloud in colored pencil for the next week's live stream. Just thinking out loud. Valerie asks, how do I feel about someone reading in my ear, so the question is nothing, so the questions aren't missed. I've thought about doing that. My friend Jessica actually offered to come over tonight and hang out while I was doing this, but being that I'm so new with this, although maybe she could have reminded me to turn my camera on, maybe we will have to have her here next week. I thought that might kind of work, to have her just read them for me if she's in the room. So it's something that I may end up doing later, or at another live stream. This is all very new, so I'm hoping to just kind of improve the way that I've got these set up as time goes on. Both camera angle, audio, like everything all around. I definitely, it's going to be a learning experience. It's a lot different than making a regular edited video. No, I don't like that. Just going to take a little water and get rid of that line. Go away. Okay, now I'm just kind of looking at edges that might need to be cleaned up a bit. Actually, I can put a little bit of water coming down on some of this more. Okay, I think there's a question somewhere that I am missing, but I'm not seeing it. Mitch says, subscribe to me, please. That is not how you get subscribers. I think that I'm kind of glad that you wrote that, because that is not how you do it. You want to get subscribers on your own, not by going to someone else's channel and telling people to subscribe to me. It's not an effective way to go. And it sometimes irritates people a lot when you do that. Aaron says, those ideas for the colored pencil landscape and the clouds in the colored pencil sound like good tutorial ideas. Yay. Sea Rebel says, how are you feeling right now? Do you ever need to stop in the midst of a painting because of health reasons? I do, and it frustrates me so much. Yeah, occasionally, especially with my back. Now, the way that I'm set up here, because I'm up straight and I've got good posture, I don't have too many issues. But there are times where my back or my wrist will randomly, the arthritis will kick in, and it's like, nope, you're not working right now. Good luck meeting your schedule this week. But yeah, so it does occasionally happen. I'm lucky because the back problems that I have and the type of arthritis I have is best when I move a lot. So if mine gets really bad, if I go on a walk for about a half an hour, it'll usually work my back into place. If I throw it out, usually, it's not always the case. But I mean, there are a lot of things that I can do to avoid having it too bad. So I'm very, very lucky in that. Let's see. I've got a question from Christine who says, I know you use Liquitex Basic mostly, but have you ever tried Golden Brad paints, and what did you think of them? I did. They were too glossy for me. They're glossy and a little bit thicker. They just aren't great for the techniques that I use. It's not that they're a bad paint. They're actually a very, very good paint. It's just for how I work and the way you can see that this, well, I don't know if you can see, it's very, very flat. If this had a high gloss, it would not video well. I also wouldn't be able to use my charcoal pencil to add my L, like different, if I was going to paint an L on this, I could use my charcoal pencil, draw an L over it, and it would show up over this because it's very flat. It sticks to it. With the glossier paints like Golden, it doesn't stick. And so just the way that I work, they weren't my favorite. I know some amazing artists who love them, though. They are a good paint. It just depends on your techniques and how you're working. I like Karma Kid says, my poor man's palette. I buy picture frames at the 99-cent store and use the glass for palettes. Anyone else? What do you mean you're one up on me? I use tin foil. I wrap tin foil around, for oils anyway, tin foil around a canvas board, and that is my favorite palette. It's really easy to clean up. Noah Spalding says that they use Winsor & Newton acrylic. Is that good? I've not used it, but the brand is good enough that I'm sure it's fine. There are certain brands that I hate. Reeves or Revis, I hate that one. What are the others? I'm trying to think of the names of some of them right now. That one's a really bad one, the Reeves or Revis. There are a few others. Any of the generic ones I really dislike. But the Golden, Winsor & Newton, any of these bigger name brands, usually you're going to be fine. It's just a matter of your technique as to which one is going to be best for you. Giovanna asks what my most favorite thing I've painted so far. Two, probably the goldfish that I just did with the pouring medium, part because it's new. My newest ones are usually my favorite. I love that one. And the flamingo that I painted with the bees on the big round canvas against the gray background. I don't know if you remember that one. That's my other favorite right now. That one is hanging in my living room and I have no intention of selling it anytime soon. I love that one. I also have a giraffe that I painted with butterflies all over him. I've never made that available for sale either because I like that one so much. He's on my wall too. I love Nicordis. This is too small for me to read at the distance. Says, oh, I learned how to paint with Reeves when I was like 9. See, yes, you were 9. It was appropriate for you then. As adults, we want to use better supplies. Let's see. Gail asks if I have ever tried the golden open paint. No, but I think I have some here somewhere. I have one of the open paints someone gave me to try out. I haven't yet. I totally forgot about it until you mentioned that. So I will have to do a video with those sometime soon. Kaneho, yes, that is Deadpool and Gurpole. This is a good one. Him asks, the more I develop a critical eye, the less I appreciate other people's work. Wow, that sounds douchey. It feels like a slippery slope towards elitism. Thoughts? Well, I don't think it's elitism as long as you're keeping those thoughts to yourself. If you are in a gallery and you see something you don't like and you're out loud saying, I don't like this is blended bad, it looks like they painted it with their feet, and people around you can hear you, that's douchey. If you're just for yourself looking at it and thinking, I don't like it because of this, I don't like it because of that, that's great. That is good. Then you can apply it to your own skills, your own work. Just don't say it out loud where anyone could hear you, because you never know what stage someone is in their own art journey. And so you don't want to discourage somebody. But as far as judging it on your own, I do the same thing. If I go to a gallery, I'm looking at what I'm constantly critiquing. I like this, I don't like this, I like this, I don't like this, but you can keep those thoughts to yourself and then you're not a big jerk. Asteroid asks if I will show you guys how to use watercolor. Probably not. It's not one of my preferred mediums. It's not something I've ever been terribly good at. So no. Now, as I'm looking at this, as I'm setting back, I've got a lot of the yellows here. I do want to pull a little bit more highlighting there or some of those colors here, because right now they're very, very different when I'm looking at those two. So just from a distance, I am going to add a few brush strokes of that color. And I still have some of my lighter colors. I'll just make them a little bit darker. I don't want to add too much of that yellowy tint, but it seems like I could use a little bit more. Dennis asks if I can make a tutorial on painting reflections. I have so much trouble painting reflections. Yeah, eventually that is on my to-do list. I've actually got a to-do list, and that's one of the things that I do want to teach you guys sometime in the hopefully near future. It's a long to-do list. Saul asks what my favorite museum is. This is going to be terrible to admit. I don't enjoy museums. I just don't. It's kind of like, okay, so I'm a musician. I play violin. I don't enjoy going to concerts because it just makes me want to play. I want to be on stage. I want to be playing violin. I want to be up there. Like, it just, I don't enjoy most concerts because of that. It's always been a problem for me. And museums, I kind of feel the same. I just want to go home and paint. I don't want to look at the art. I just want to go paint my own stuff. I know, I'm weird. Noah asks, what is your opinion on more contemporary art? Question, realism isn't more common in galleries nowadays, however, more abstract performance installation art is. Thoughts? We'll see, and I don't enjoy those styles that much myself. I'm not saying that they're bad or wrong. I definitely have appreciation for them, but I don't enjoy looking at them as much. It's just not my preference. So that probably plays a little bit of a role in how I feel about going to a lot of those galleries or museums. And yeah, no, you're right. That does seem to be the case. You've got a lot of the abstract stuff is very popular. I can't say that there's anything wrong with it. It's just not my preference. But other people obviously do enjoy it, and they've got to show people what, I guess, the overall crowd wants to see, or what the masses want. And the masses apparently want abstract contemporary art, which is fine. Little highlights are working for me. This brush is starting to get dry, which is making this technique go a lot easier. Pulled that together a bit more. And one last thing I want to do is pull a little bit of the turquoise reflecting onto the rocks. Actually, two things I want to try. This may not end well. We'll find out. Ooh, that's too thick. Let's spread that out. There we go. On the underside of some of these rocks, I want to create what looks like almost a glow from the water, the same color I used in the water. Because right now the rocks aren't flowing with the rest of the piece. So I am pulling this turquoise in here. They have some of the purple, but I think this is definitely making a big difference for me. Alejandra asks, how do you get over the fear of working in color? Practice. Do you feel like that's my answer for everything? But it is. You just practice. The more you do it, the less scary it's going to seem. And if it's such a big deal, start with a limited palette. Don't use every color that you own. Start with just, black, white, and one additional color. And working off camera. Few little highlights with this turquoise. I need to back my hand up. I'm way too close to the tip of that brush now. Noah wants to know where my studio assistants are. They are in their crate right now because I didn't want to deal with one of them deciding they had to go outside right now and having to stop in the live stream, which they would do. The second that I start talking, studio assistant number one thinks she not only needs my attention, but she needs something from me. I have to get her water. I have to get her something. So when I do podcasts, and then now this, I know from doing the podcast, just put her in her crate, let her sleep for a couple of hours. So I'm actually going to go ahead and put my brushes down. I'm pretty much done with this for now. I may do a couple touch-ups here and there once the cameras are off, but I think that's about it for this piece. So there are rocks and waterfalls for you. I will answer a couple more of your questions. Let's see. C Rebel asks if I'm painting on canvas board. This is a Frederick's mixed media canvas board. Yeah. Scrolling through, looking for more questions. Madison asks if I will paint snakes or other reptiles. If I found a reference photo that really interested me, probably. Aubrey asks, how do you get over a fear of showing people your art? Oh, I just lost my page. By doing it, you're just going to show them. I mean, it's not, oh, look, I just pulled up Nikitoros's page. That is not what I'm trying to do. Come back, questions, come back. I get over showing, or just by showing them. When you show it to enough people, you get over it, basically. I don't know. I've never been afraid to show anybody. I think I was always so proud of it. I've always been a little full of myself, I guess, with that when I was younger. Like, look what I did. Look what I made. I mean, even when I was a little kid going to my mom, look what I drew. It's an elephant, even though she couldn't tell it was an elephant. So, I don't know. Just show them. Get used to it. I think when you get enough positive feedback where people are... I can actually turn that camera off now. But enough feedback where people are praising you and telling you what a great job you're doing, I think that's going to make it easier for you not to be so afraid of it, of showing people your work. Arena asks, how do you always get such perfect proportions when it comes to portraits or animals? Do you trace? Sometimes, and I won't tell you which ones I did and which ones I didn't, because no one can tell the difference. And it proves a point, and I've been proving this point forever. Everyone likes to say, oh, if you trace it, it's not as good. You can't do it. You're getting this. There's a million reasons on why people say it's bad to trace. My point is, you can't tell the difference because I can freehand. And when I decide to trace something, it's going to save me time. If you can't trace, it will help to teach. I mean, if you can't freehand, it will help you to draw better. But it's not an instant win button. It's going to show in your end result. And if you look through my work, you would never know which things I traced or did not trace because I won't tell you. There's no difference. They all look the same. So it's practice is how I got to that point of really knowing or getting to where my proportions were good. The huge part was practice. And one of the things that I do when I freehand stuff is I start with circles, which sounds like so elementary because all the beginner books say, draw a circle. Not just circles, but I kind of dot out, okay, I want the top of the head to hit this portion of the canvas. I want the bottom of the head here, and then kind of draw a circle where I want it. And just build from there. Just get my general shapes where they're going to go. That's how I do it when I'm freehanding. When I trace it, then obviously just tracing. Let's see. What else do we have? JPC13 Art asks if I plan to use Sumi ink again anytime soon. It's fun, but it's not one that I'm good enough to really teach you guys with. So while it was fun to do for the Smart Art Box, and it's something that I may play with again on my own because I do like that style, I don't have time to really learn new mediums like that. That takes a lot to master, and I don't see myself putting the time into it. There are occasionally mediums that I do want to put the time into, like I loved those Winsor & Newton markers, or I've only been using the ink tints for about a year and a half. I do occasionally come across mediums that I decide to learn so that I can teach you guys, but Sumi I don't think will be one of them. Noah asks if using too much Mona Lisa paint thinner damages the paper or pigment. No. You can end up with kind of an oily spot if you're using tone paper, like when I've used the Fawn Stonehenge when I used too much. It definitely left a bit of a kind of a stain where you could see it, but the paper's fine. It's not really hurting anything. Karen asks if I get inspired by others. She says, I'm inspired by your work. Do you get inspired by others? Thank you. Yes, definitely. Joel Rayo was one someone mentioned earlier. He so inspires me. His work is just phenomenal. John By Fine Art, love his. Jason Morgan, his work has always inspired me. There's a lot of artists, and even artists that maybe aren't famous, but their work, you'll come across a video or something and it's like, that is amazing. I want to paint something that looks like that. So yeah, there are a lot. Shamara asks what my thoughts are on artist block. Gosh, I'm getting tired. I'm having a hard time spitting out getting this started. With artist block, the best thing you can do is pick something. Go to paintmyphoto or pmp-art.com, morgue file, Pixabay. Go to one of these royalty-free reference photos. If you're willing to pay for a reference photo, you can go to Jason Morgan's website or wildlifereferencephotos.com. Find a photo that you're like, wow, that's awesome. I want to recreate that, and do it. even if you're just copying something else and you're not being super creative, it just gets you thinking, gets ideas in your head for something that maybe will be more creative. But if you sit around thinking, I have artist block, I'm just not going to do anything, you're not going to get over it. You've got to force yourself. Pick up anything. Pick up, you know, a cup of tea with some grapes and draw that. Like anything from your kitchen, just something to get started. So there's this idea that people think that they've got to wait for the moon to be in the right alignment and the stars and everything has to be magical for them to get in the mood to create art. It's not how it works. You just pick up your pencils or your paintbrushes and you get started. And if you can't think of anything, oh my gosh, nothing's coming to my head, go find a cool reference photo and just use it, if nothing else, just for practice, just to get back into painting or drawing. Don't let it go so long that you're like, oh, I can't think of anything, and months end up going by and you've created nothing. You won't get out of it that way. You just have to pick something and draw it. JPC13 Art says, I've been making videos for about a year and the quality of my videos isn't great. How can I improve the quality and increase the views on my videos? Uploading consistently. Yeah, I'm getting tired. Uploading consistently, wow, that was hard, is the first thing. Get on a schedule. Like, you know me, every Wednesday I have a video, and that's what I started. Every Wednesday was my painting video. Then I added critiques every Tuesday, and then I added, to increase views more, I added the Saturday artist vlog. Then I wanted to bump that up again. I added Thursday Q&As. Actually, I think there were social media tips for artists at the time. But you pick something, or pick a day and know that every day that week you are going to be uploading your video. You want to get in the habit of always having that. That's going to build your followers. You want to make sure you do a call to action, ask people to subscribe. Hey, by the way, guys, if you haven't already, can you subscribe? You just throw that out there. That is a big thing. Quality of your videos, that's going to come from practice and just being able to get better equipment. I haven't seen yours, so I'm not sure what you mean by quality. Is it just that you're not comfortable on camera? That happens with experience and the more videos that you make. But being on a schedule is the best way to grow an audience. Let's see, it's almost 10. We'll stop at 10. Alejandra, you were proud of me for saying it right last time, and now I just screwed it up. Alejandra asks, how do you get out of unusually long ruts? I don't have them. I don't let myself get into them because I don't have time. Like, I have work to do. You've got to look at art. If you're looking at it to be a profession, it has to be something that it's your job. You've got to show up to work whether you're in the mood to do it or not. So it's not like, I mean, when I was working at the animal hospital, I couldn't just call in and go, I don't feel like working today. I'm not in the mood, but I still want to get paid. It doesn't work that way. With art, it's hard because you have to work whether you're in the mood or not. So yeah, you don't want to let yourself get in long ruts. There were times in my past where I was super sick, having a lot of problems with my health, where I figured out how to control it with diet. And I would go way too long where I was playing Warcraft because that's all I had the energy for, and not painting. But that was more of a health issue than anything else. But don't let it happen. If you get into kind of like the whole artist block thing, you just have to make yourself do it. You've got to have the self-discipline. And it's one of the things that a lot of artists have a problem of. They seem to think that they're going to create 1 or 2 good paintings and they're going to get famous from them because they're going to be amazing, and they only need to create 1 or 2 a year. No, I create 1 a week minimum. I mean, that's, you've got, and I'm a little on the high end just because of how much I have to produce for videos, but you've got to produce a lot. You have to be on a regular thing. And I think setting goals for yourself, like I'm going to have 2 new paintings done every single month, something like that. Give yourself a goal and make sure you meet it. You've got to have the self-discipline to make that happen if this is something that you want to do as a career. Okay, well, we are at 10 o'clock, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you guys so much for joining me. This was a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying doing these live streams. I keep thinking, oh, we'll do it for an hour, and now we're 2 hours in because you guys are just fun to chat with. So thank you again for joining me for this, and I think that's all I have to say. I'm sure I'll see you guys next week. I think we'll do a colored pencil tutorial for next week's live stream. So I will see you then. Bye. And now I have to remember how to turn this off because that's a whole thing. Let's see.